Number 8 is to consider approval of the City Council minutes of the regular meeting of April the 22nd, 2014. This time I'll ask Council, what's your pleasure? Council? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is made by Councilperson Porterfield and seconded by Councilperson Stenifoot. Is there further questions or comments? If not, cast your votes. The consent agenda has been approved. Item number 9 is to hold a public hearing and consider resolution 141432. This is supporting the Euless grant application for transportation alternatives programs, funds for the construction of active transportation facilities within the city of Euless, Texas. Mr. Ray McDonald, Director of Parks and Recreation, will present this.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Council, the North Central Texas Council of Government Metropolitan Planning Area has been sub-allocated nearly $28 million in transportation alternative program funds for FY 14-15. Of the allocated funds, about $9.5 million has been earmarked for projects in the West region, including Tarrant County. The proposed maximum award for an approved project is $2.5 million with a 20% minimum local cash match. The resolution before you here tonight is to support a grant application for an active transportation facility or shared use path that will extend west from the existing trail within Creekwood Estates, extend under 5 highway bridges at the State Highway 121 and 157 merge, as shown here in the slide, just north of Mid-Cities Boulevard to the southeast corner of the Glade Parks development at State Highway 121 southbound service road. Also under consideration for this submittal is the segment that will provide the link between State Highway 121 southbound service road and Heritage Drive to the west. As part of the grant application process, we are asking that the Euless City Council consider adoption of this resolution in support of this project, which is recognized by COG as part of the regional VeloWeb system, as well as identified as a top priority in the needs assessment and identification section of the recently updated and adopted City of Euless Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. At this time, we are in a public hearing, so I'll ask, do we have any proponents for this particular resolution? If not, do we have any opponents of the resolution? If not, I'll close the public hearing and I'll ask council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move approval.
Mayor, I'll second.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Mayor Pro Tem Hogg and seconded by Councilperson Eilenfeld to approve resolution number 141432. Is there further discussion? Mr. McDonald, this is a walking trail as well as a bike trail as well as a whatever trail to go through under all those highways?
Everything but motorized vehicles.
Everything but motorized. What about a motorized scooter?
Well, we would prefer not to have those on our trail, but we have rules against that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other concerns or questions? If not, then cast your vote. Resolution 1414 has been approved. Item number 10 is to hold another public hearing, and this is to consider the first and final reading of ordinance number 2030, renewing the youth program standard for care for the operation of youth-based programs and services. Mr. McDonald.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. The Parks and Community Services Department, the Euless Police Department, and the Euless Fire Department plan to offer elementary-age day camp programs for children this summer. The Texas Legislature requires that municipal day camp programs for elementary-age children meet daycare licensing requirements or file for an exemption of the Human Resources Code. In order to receive an exempt status, the municipality must submit a copy of the program standards, a notice of the public hearing for the program, and the ordinance adopting the standards. In the case of the police department and the fire department camps, they're also covered under this ordinance, and because those camps are considered short-term programs, they only need to submit a Form 2821 to the department to exempt their camp activities. There are no significant changes to the exemption process, and we ask for your approval tonight.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Do we have any proponents of this ordinance 2013 regarding the youth program standards? Do we have any opponents? If not, I'll close the public hearing and ask council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I move approval.
Thank you.
Mayor, I'll second.
Thank you. The motion's been made by Councilperson Stonefoot and seconded by Councilperson Allenfeld to approve ordinance number 2030. Council, do you have any questions or concerns? If not, cast your vote. Ordinance number 2030 has been approved. Item number 11 is to consider site plan 14404 for commercial development located in the Mad Triangle Addition on 1640 West Euless Boulevard. Mr. Collins, Director of Planning, will give us a...
Thank you, Mayor. As you indicated, the subject property is located at 1640 West Euless Boulevard on the northeast corner of Deborah Drive and West Euless Boulevard. You can see from the site plan at the upper right-hand corner, with the top of the screen being to your north, that there's an existing service master business. They actually own all of this property. They had contemplated when they bought the property that they would leave some undeveloped property along Highway 10 for future development. They have sold about a half of the remaining undeveloped portion to Dollar General, who is the applicant this evening. As you can see on the right side of the screen, that would be the north side of Highway 10, there's a point of ingress egress. That is a drive that had to have been approved by TxDOT. So when you see future development on this site immediately to the east, that will be shared mutual access for that future development. If you are coming westbound on Highway 10, that is the entrance that you will use into the site. If you are coming eastbound on Highway 10, there's no median cut, so you're going to have to turn onto Deborah Drive, turn north, and go into the site. What is Dollar General proposing to construct? They are going to be developing, rather, a 9,100 square foot new store. They've got an existing location in lease space on Ector Drive. They would plan to move from that and occupy this new building that they would own. Specific to the site and the building, the stuff that would have the impacts to the residential development to the west, including the service area and the dumpsters, are all located on the east side of the building to screen that, again, from the residential to the west. In order to further mitigate any potential impacts of the commercial to the residential to the west, they've enhanced the landscaping along Deborah Drive with trees and shrubbery. They will be building a 100% masonry facility that meets the masonry requirements. It's going to be a brick building. You can see about 2/3 up. They've got a soldier course band that will give some architectural design relief to that brick facade. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this at their last regularly scheduled meeting and recommends approval.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Council, what is your pleasure for this?
Mayor, I move approval.
Thank you.
I'll second
Thank you. The motion is made by Councilperson Allenfeld and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Hart to approve the site plan for 1404. Any further discussion on council? No questions? Then cast your vote. The site plan has been approved. Item number 12 is to consider another site plan, and this is 1405. This is for commercial development located in Euless Industrial Park Edition, Lot 2 on 902 Heather Drive. Mr. Collins.
Thank you very much. As the mayor indicated, this is located on Heather Drive This is a long-time local business by the name of Quickway Manufacturing. They are actually located between Stanley and Heather Drive. Again, north is to the top of the screen with Highway 10. They are proposing to add a new warehouse to their site. That is depicted by the red arrow with the area shaded in gray. Again, that building would be a little bit less than 6,000 square feet. They would have a covered canopy on either side of that building to protect the employees from the elements as they're moving in and out of that new warehouse. All the technical requirements associated with any new parking have all been satisfied. I might note that the areas that are shaded in green would depict the landscaping that will be installed as part of this overall project. It would be typical to only locate the new landscaping surrounding the new facility that's being introduced to the property, but in working with Quickway, they wanted to enhance the landscaping not only in front of the new facility, but also enhance the hard corner there of Highway 10 and Heather Drive, so they'll be introducing some shrubbery, some hydromulch to that area to enhance the overall appearance of that building, of that facility rather. They too will be meeting the 100% masonry requirement. It'll start out as a steel frame building, but it will be clad to meet the 100% masonry requirements. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this at their last regularly scheduled meeting and is recommending approval of the site plan for y'all this evening.
Thank you, and especially for the additional landscaping that's certainly needed on that corner.
Yes, ma'am.
Council, what is your pleasure?
Mayor, I'll move approval.
Thank you. Thank you. The motion is made by Councilperson Porterfield and seconded by Councilperson Price. Is there further discussion among the council members? If not, then cast your votes. The site plan has been approved. Item number 13 is to call a runoff election to be held on June the 21st. Well, all of our council candidates won their election, and so we do not have to have a runoff. Hallelujah. So there's no runoff and no election. The next item on our agenda tonight is a request by Mr. Richard Browning to come forward and address the city council. Mr. Browning.
Good evening.
Would you give us your name and address, please?
Sure. My name is William Richard Browning. I go by Richard. And I live at 515 Live Oak Drive here in Euless. Only moved here about 3 or 4 years ago to buy an empty nest house. It's time to get out of the two-story house. I come before you today to call your collective attention to an affront to liberty of all that visit Euless or may be exposed to Euless via the internet or other media, specifically the use of designated free speech zone signs to identify a limited area for free expression. It's my understanding that this practice began in response to a perceived abuse by some persons of their right to free speech. I first became aware of this practice on Saturday of the last Arbor Days Festival. A photo of the designated free speech zone signs posted on the City Hall lawn were posted on social media and garnered significant unfavorable response from people throughout the DFW area. Although we may all have heard political, social, or religious speech that we find objectionable and or offensive, those that recognize the imperative of preserving liberty see the risks of government restraints as much more dangerous than the harm caused by offensive speech. Benjamin Franklin said, "Freedom of speech is a principal pillar of a free government. When this support is taken away, the constitution of a free society is dissolved, and tyranny is erected in its ruins." Obviously, I'm not suggesting that tyranny is imminent in Euless. However, as a precedent, it is a concern of, we earlier, if I may address it, we had the resolution for Poppy Day, and it's appropriate that we remember people that have died in service to the country and preservation of liberty, but that liberty has to be jealously guarded, and that's why I'm here before you. I reviewed the Supreme Court position on their time, place, and manner restrictions, as well as the historical treatment of free speech abuse, including the bad tendency test that was used before 1900. Excuse me. And that bad tendency test was basically a tendency to bring about evil consequences. And this is as opposed to the clear and present danger question, i.e. an immediate substantive evil being at risk to curtail free speech. In consideration of the current Supreme Court position, I would like to point out 4 things. 1, the fundamental role of governance at every level throughout the nation in our constitutional democratic republic is to protect life, liberty, and property of each individual man for himself and from the abuses thereof by all of his fellows. Essentially, we're each supposed to be protected as individuals, and we're supposed to be assured through governance that each of us is not infringing on the other's rights. So I appreciate the concerns for those that abuse their rights. However, we need to be careful to make sure that we preserve those. Number 2, the SCOTUS Supreme Court of the United States and its position is as fallible and temporary as that of any legislative branch, as there are ample examples of major reversals of flawed positions in our past. Slavery, segregation of the races. I personally remember, I'm old enough to remember Jim Crow laws. I'm old enough to remember Leonard Brothers department stores downtown Fort Worth having colored-only water fountains. I remember asking my parents, what's the problem? And the water that comes out of there the same as the one that comes out of the fountain across the way. And of course they didn't have an adequate response, unfortunately. We also had suffrage for women, where we made a reversal of what was originally set up. And then prohibition of alcohol, which was reversed, put in place and then reversed. Number 3, despite all propaganda to the contrary, all of my rights are naturally mine, not as an American, but as a human being. These rights are recognized by the Bill of Rights, and my rights are absolute, suffering only that the free exercise of my rights must not directly conflict with the prime directive of preserving life, liberty, and property for all men. Number 4, no man has a right to be offended. You don't have a constitutional right to avoid being offended, or without demonstrable reasonable cause to not feel frightened by the legal actions of another. It is imperative that we preserve liberty first, foremost, and always. We must deal with those that would harass or accost another, rather than usurp unjustly the task of restricting the rights of any man. This following quote is attributed to Thomas Paine. He said that he that would make his own liberty secure must guard even his enemy from oppression. For if he violates this duty, he establishes a precedent that will reach to himself. It is imperative that we jealously guard free speech, and I therefore urge you to reverse any use of the designated free speech zone in the name of the liberty that your children deserve to see at all city functions. The current policy sends a message to our children that their rights are, in practice, merely privileges to be granted or curtailed at the whim of government, and it's the place of its choosing. I can assure you that I am steadfastly opposed to the current Supreme Court position on free speech and will continue to confront this usurpation of man's rights both here in Euless and wherever else I may find such signs. I am confident that I will not stand alone in this position and that the city of Euless will not benefit from the attention that the current policy will bring to the city via the internet, print media, and television. In closing, Thomas Paine also said, an army of principles can penetrate where an army of soldiers cannot. I appreciate the opportunity to address you and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for coming forward, Mr. Richards. We will have, my city manager will touch base with you during the week, later on during the week.
All right, thank you.
All right? Thank you. Thank you again for coming, Mr. Brown. At this time, do we have a report from our city attorney?
No report.
All right. Do we have a report from our city manager?
No, Mayor.
Do we have a report from our council manager? If not, I just want to remind you all that at this time, tonight is mine and Mayor Pro Tem Hogg's last regular council meeting. And we would like to take this opportunity, first of all, to congratulate Linda Allenfield on her re-election to City Council. Additionally, I'd like to invite Mayor-elect Linda Martin to come forward, along with Councilmember-elect Jeremy Tompkins. And Jeremy Tompkins, if you'll come forward and join Mayor Hogg, and if Ms. Martin will come forward and join me. We'd like to take this opportunity also to congratulate them on their election. She asked me if I was giving her a calendar. Well, guess what? I'm filling it out for her, too. I totally filled out all of them, too. What are you doing? We saved that for the election. And here's your mayor.
While y'all are doing that, Mayor, I would like to append Jeremy's city council pin to his lapel. And I hope he enjoys this seat as long as I have.
Well, congratulations, Jeremy, and we welcome you to the city council too, and you all will take their oath of office on the 20th. So be at that time, and then you will be fully elected and be at the next council meeting. And you want to serve 25 years?
Oh, Mayor, nobody can serve like you did.
She's got 10 already, she's got 15 to go. All right, do we have any public comments? If not, then the meeting is adjourned, and thank you all for coming.
Hey, Richard.
Sorry, I was running late.
Yeah.
Say hello on the way in.
Oh, that's fine.
Guy came by from the next street over, asked me, I said, "So, did somebody take your son?" I figured it's you or someone. Come around and pick some up.
Yeah, I picked up the yard sign.
Do you need any help? Have you covered all of it?
I think I've covered it all. I went all through the Wilshire area.
Right. Good.
You've got a list of the places you might have put them. You might double check.
Okay, yeah, I'd be glad to do that.
Should I run down? I think I covered all the streets, but you know how that goes. Sometimes you double back. I know some people that I knew had signs up and even taking them down.
Right, yeah.
So anyway.